Good morning, students. So, after your bridge course, I'm going to start your syllabus, and in syllabus, I'm going to start your first chapter, that is some basic concepts of the chemistry. So, before starting the chapter, I want to discuss something which you already discussed in class the 10th, that about the chemistry. So, what is the chemistry? So before knowing about the chemistry, first of all, we will know about the science, that science has mainly three branches. First one is physics, and the second one is chemistry, and the third one is biology. So here we are going to discuss about the chemistry. So what is the chemistry? Chemistry is nothing but also it is the branch of science in which we will study about the matter. So in the matter we are discussing different things like the properties of the matters, composition of the matters, uh, and the some reactions of the matters also. As we well know that the matter is nothing but also matters are those which occupy some space and which have some masses, which already have we have discussed in previous classes. If we are going to discuss about the classification of the matter, then matters they are mainly classified in physical classification and the chemical classification. In physical classification, we have three parts, that is solid, liquid, and gases. Students, as earlier we have discussed about this, that the solids they have less intermolecular space. Due to less intermolecular space, the force of attraction means the intermolecular force of attraction means the IMF will be greater, due to which the solid shows a rigid character, because we well know that the intermolecular force is inversely proportional to intermolecular space. Means space will be more and more, the intermolecular force of attraction will be less and less, due to which the solid shows rigid character. In case of liquid, the intermolecular space is a little bit high in comparison to the solid, due to which the liquid shows fluid character. But in case of gases, this intermolecular force of attraction is very high, very less, because of the high intermolecular space. That's why they are the compressible in nature, and they are free to move here and there. While if we are moving towards the chemical property of the matters, the chemical property or the chemical classification of the matters, they are divided in two parts. They are classified in two parts. One is the pure substances, and the second one is the mixture. Once again, these pure substances are classified in two parts, that is elements and compounds. You will know what is the elements. So elements are those which is made up of same types of atoms. This is made up of same types of atoms, and the compounds they are the parts of the elements. While the mixture they are classified in homogeneous mixture and the heterogeneous mixture. Students, if you are going to discuss about the elements, then these elements in the periodic table are classified in three parts. One is the metals, second one is the non-metals, and the third one is the metalloids. So, metals are those, you will know, the metals are those which have tendency to donate to one or more electrons from the outermost shell and to form the positive ions. So, some metals like sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, magnesium, aluminum, they are the metals. If you are discussing non-metals, so non-metals are those which have a tendency to gain or to accept one or more electrons in the outermost shell and to form negative ions. So some non-metals, they are the carbon, bromine, iodine, chlorine. So these are the non-metals which present in the periodic table. Metallites, third part of the elements is metallites. So metallites are those which has both character, metals as well as non-metals. So this is the part of the elements which already we have discussed in periodic table. While the compounds, they are the two types of compounds there. One is the organic compounds. In organic compounds, mainly we are discussing about the carbon containing compounds. So we will know that the organic compounds are those compounds which has carbon as a one element, like CH4, methane, ethane, propane. So these are the organic compounds which has at least one carbon element along with the hydrogen. While there are the some inorganic compounds uh, which we not which we need to learn, which is very important for your syllabus, in which some inorganic compounds are H2SO4 and Mohr salts, rock salts, which we need to discuss. Just take a screenshot of this. So, students, as I have told that the some organic compounds, they are the methane, ethane, that's like CH4, C2S6, C3S8. So C2H2 and C2H4, these are the organic compounds. While there are the some important inorganic compounds which we need to learn and which is very important for the syllabus also, in which the some inorganic compounds are NaCl, which is also known as common salt, and this is also called rock salt, and ammonium carbonate, Na2CO3, and N210H2O, they are called washing soda. Sodium bicarbonate, they are called baking soda. Sodium sulfate, Na2SO4 into NH2O, they are called global salts. And they are the very important things, that is the potassium. And the general formula of the potassium is K2SO4 into Al2SO4 ka whole size into 24H2O. And you will know about this CaO, that is called a quicklime. So when this quicklime will go for the hydrolysis, means when this CaO will react with H2O, this will form CaOH twice. This CaOH twice are called the calcium hydroxide, or this is also called slaked lime. CaCO3, this CaCO3 are called marbles of limestone. Calcium sulfate into 2H2O, this is called gypsum, which is very important for us also. CaSO4 into half H2O, that is POP, plaster of Paris. This is plaster of Paris. And the CuSO4 into 5H2O, this is called blue vitriol. Why this is called blue vitriol? Because of the crystal of the copper sulfate, they are having blue color. That's why this is called blue vitriol. MgSO4 into 7H2O, this is called ipsum. And H2SO4, this is called oil of vitriol. Or this H2SO4 are also the king of chemical, king of chemicals. So this is a very important thing which we need to discuss, or which we need to learn. Now after this, there are some more topics, like we have fundamental units, fundamental units, quantity and units, quantity and their units. Second one is significant figure, significant figure. These are the topics which you will discuss in physics, which I have one chapter in physics. So after this, we are going to, or I'm going to discuss about the about the chemical laws. Chemical laws. So the chemical laws there are four types of chemical laws, in which the first law is law of combination. So we will discuss the first law, that is law of combination. So take a screenshot. So the first law of chemical combination is the law of conservation of mass. This law of conservation of mass was given by the Antony Lavoisier in 1736. The Antony Lavoisier are also called the father of chemistry. Means if anyone asking that who is the father of chemistry, then your answer would be Antony Lavoisier. So according to the law of conservation of mass, if any reaction is proceeding towards the product, then during the reaction, the mass of the reactant always will equal to the mass of the product. This means that in whole of the reaction, the mass will be constant, or there will be no any change in the mass of the reaction. So Antonio Lavoisier explained that the total mass of the matter in any chemical or physical change remains constant, though the matter may change its form. For example, if we have a reactant, that is A plus B, and they are changing in C plus D. So A plus B, this is the reactant, and C plus D, this is the product. So the total mass of the reactant A plus B will equal to the total mass of the product, that is C plus D. Let us consider that the mass of A is small a, and the mass of the component B is small b. Similar way, the mass of molecule C is small c, and the mass of the molecule D is small d. Then according to the law of conservation of mass, the total mass of the reactant, so the total mass of the reactant will be A plus B, will change in the total mass of the product, that is C plus D. So the total mass of the reactant and product will be same. Like we have taken, we can understand it on the basis of one example, like similar example, simple example we are taking. H2 plus Cl2 changes in 2HCl. So H2 plus Cl2 changes into HCl. So the mass of the H2 is 2, while the mass of the chlorine. So one chlorine having mass 35.5, and the two chlorine having mass 70. So here the total sum of the masses of the H2 and Cl2 will be 70 plus 2, that is 72. While in this case, if the mass of the hydrogen is 1 and the mass of the chlorine is 35.5, so 2 moles of Cl is there, so this will multiplied by 2. So what we will get? This will be get 36.5, which will equal to, this is 71 and this will be the 73. So this will multiplied by 2. So what we will get? We will get 73. So the mass of the reactant is equal to the mass of the product. So this is whole of the law of conservation of mass. This means that in whole of the reaction, in overall of the reaction, the total mass of the reactant remains constant, either there is a physical change or the chemical. So the second law of chemical combination is a law of constant composition, which is given by the Louis Prost in 1799. So according to the law of constant composition, this law are also known as law of definite proportion. This is also called law of definite proportion. So according to this law, if any molecules or any compounds we are getting from different types of sources, then in every condition, the ratio of the volume and the mass will be constant. Doesn't matter that from where we are getting these molecules or this species. So this law explains that a chemical compounds always consist of the same elements combined together in the same ratio, irrespective of the method of preparation, the source from where it is taken. Like we have one example that we are getting the carbon dioxide from different types of sources. So from where we are getting the carbon dioxide doesn't matter, but matter is that the is every condition the ratio of the carbon and oxygen, either in case of volume or in case of mass, it will be constant. How it will be constant? The volume ratio of carbon and oxygen always will be 1:2. Means if we are getting the carbon dioxide by inhale or by getting plants, from where we are getting doesn't matter. But in every condition, the volume of carbon and oxygen will be 1:2. Means one carbon will be there and two oxygen will present there. While the mass ratio will be carbon, the atomic mass of the carbon is 12 and the atomic mass of the oxygen is 16. So two oxygen is present there. So 16 to the 32. So whenever we will go for simplest form, this we will get 4 3 is 12 and 4 8 is 32. So in every condition, the ratio of carbon and oxygen in carbon dioxide will be 3:8. Similar way, if we are talking about H2O, then the volume ratio in H2O will be 2:1. Means the 2 mole of hydrogen and 1 mole of oxygen. While the mass ratio of H2O will be the hydrogen is 2 into oxygen is 16. So simplest form will be 1:8. So doesn't matter from where we are getting the H2O, but in every condition, the volume of H2O will be 2:1, and the ratio of the mass of the hydrogen and oxygen in H2O will be 1:8. So this is whole of the law of constant composition given by the Lewis Pauli. Thank you so much.